Welcome back inside our studio. We are joined by a special guest, Eric Neumann, one of the clients of the Whitley Law Firm. Eric, thank you for being with Bob and I and being here today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Eric, tell me, you were seriously injured. What happened?
Whew. Well, to tell you the truth, most of it had to be transcribed to me because after the accident, I had no memory of. I lost a major chunk of my memory, starting from the time I left the house, trying to go back and recreate. I don't even remember getting on the bike that day.
You were on a motorcycle.
I was on a motorcycle. Was heading to downtown Fuquay. Ridden this path 1,000 times. It was country road. It was one of those low stress roads. You don't have to worry about not a lot of traffic at that time. And next thing I know, I woke up in the hospital, or shall I say, the next thing I remember was probably a week later in the hospital. But according to the people that were there, we had a woman who was following behind me who actually gave the whole report. She explained to us. We got a chance to talk to her, who watched the whole thing. Was riding down the road in a truck, one of them car wreckers.
Tow truck type thing?
Yeah, it's one of those flatbed tow trucks.
Okay.
Just pulled right into my leg, actually hit me. I don't even remember anything from it, but according to the report, the woman behind me was watching, and the truck was sitting there going to make a left-hand turn into a driveway as I'm coming by, and just turned right into me.
Turned right into you.
Right into me. So it was one of those things. There was no stepping on the brakes. There was no anticipation, which some of the doctors said was probably a good thing, because none of my muscles were really tensed up, or everything was pretty relaxed when it hit. I've gone through and I've had I'll call them nightmares. Sometimes when I'm trying to piece together, they say sometimes your brain will start piecing it together, and I've had these dreams of sort of what happened, and the only reason I know they're dreams is every time I have one, it's slightly different.
Interesting.
So all those things where my brain is trying to fill in the differences between what I was told happened and all the color surrounding it. All that color is different in every dream. It's always brutal. I never want to go through those dreams. But the reason I know they're just dreams is every one of them is different.
So a week later, you get conscious again, and you're in the hospital.
Well, they told me. I mean, the woman who attended to me at the scene said I was conscious the whole time. I just don't remember any of it.
Okay, sure.
She was talking to me about, she tells me, I won't say it's a funny story, but was sitting there and was laying down, and she's trying to calm me, and she turns around and she says, "You just kept asking two things: if I can help find my legs, because I didn't know where they were, and if I was going to die." And she said those are the two things that I had mentioned to her throughout the time. But she said I never lost consciousness.
And she called 911, I'm assuming.
That would be one of those. Didn't get into the details on how everything happened after that point. But my wife actually one day sort of explained to me where it actually happened, and I sort of knew the stretch of where it was based on some of the descriptions. And it might have been about a month or two ago, I asked my wife, I said, "Can you show me exactly where it was?" And so we drove past it, and she showed me, that I ended up under a tree.
How many surgeries have you had?
I think 5 or 6. We just had one recently to pull some plates. Both my legs have got a lot of plates and metal in them, and one of the plates, they say it's not uncommon, they get infected, and we knew it was infected early on, but they had to wait for the bones to heal before they can pull them out. So about a month ago, they took some plates and screws out of this one knee.
People don't see it now because you're sitting in a chair, but earlier today, watching you with a cane, and you move very slowly, and it looks like are you in pain when you walk?
Yeah, it's getting a little better, but the foot, the ankle on the left-hand side was crushed really bad. The surgeon said something really funny once when he came out and I finally started realizing, remembering things. He came to me and actually thanked me for making him a better surgeon.
Oh.
And that's not one of those things you really want to hear from your surgeon. You
Right.
want to hear that, I did that. It was the easiest thing. I've done 1,000 of these. I could do it in the dark. But, he came to me and thanked me for making him a better surgeon. But the ankle was really, was crushed bad. And
Oh, wow.
we call it the Eiffel Tower, this metal bridge that they put in there.
Interesting.
And that still gives me a lot of pain, and it's a lot of swelling still down there. But fortunately, the one leg that I rely on the most is healed pretty good. So at least I can get some stability there. And, I'm going through PT, and hopefully, over time, they'll be able to move on that, the left leg a little better.
Eric, how did you get to know the Whitley Law Firm? How did you know? I mean, your wife obviously knew, and you knew that we need to get some legal help here. How did you find the Whitley Law Firm?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a good question for my wife, because really, I think a lot of people have talked. You see the commercials on TV and you don't pay any attention. That's for other people. We don't ever need that kind of service. She was, God bless her, she was around to help. It was like going through a major loss in the family when this happened. It's hard for her to think clearly.
Yeah.
And so she called some friends and asked them their advice, if you had any experience with it. Mm-hmm. And they had looked around, and people that she had gotten advice from had mentioned Whitley Law Firm. So she called. And I think instantly from the time she called, she knew it was the right decision. They made everything very easy for her, helped her out, because we don't know what to do. We have no clue. My wife didn't know whether I was going to live or die, and she's starting to get questions about, how are we going to, start paying the bills. Don't even want to go into sort of what started rolling through the door shortly after I'd been there in the hospital for a little while, but it gave her extreme peace of mind when she called. They came out right away, although I don't remember the initial visit, although I think I talked. Mm-hmm. I was there in mind and body, but I don't remember it. But she was, put at ease, and my wife is a big planner. If you know Jennifer, she plans everything out, and she was very nervous. There was a lot of questions that she just didn't know how to answer.
Bob, what was your first experience like with Eric and Jennifer, remembering that?
Well, my first experience was more with Jennifer.
More Jennifer,
I did meet Eric in the hospital.
Okay.
And he was in the bed, and quite frankly, I walked away from that meeting wondering whether this guy would ever walk again.
Is that right?
In view of his injuries.
Wow.
I didn't know him as well then. If I'd known him well, I knew he was determined he was going to walk, no matter what. Remember I said that he was an inspiring client.
Absolutely.
But Jennifer was in charge. Mm-hmm. She had to be. Mm-hmm. And, some of the things he mentioned about his motorcycle wreck, it's pretty typical motorcycle wreck. Where other vehicle operators turn in front of him. And that's exactly what this driver did. He just turned right in front of Eric's approaching motorcycle as if he didn't see it.
Okay.
Unfortunately, motorcycles are difficult to see. And I think people don't deliberately not see them, but they accidentally not see them a lot. Mm-hmm. And he talked about the 911. Part of our operation in the beginning is we get all the 911 calls. We get the recordings of them if they're available.
Okay.
It's important about the time that somebody called and who called.
Okay.
They may know something.
Sure.
In this case, we knew from the beginning that it was a serious injury. Mm-hmm. We also knew that there was a commercial vehicle that was responsible.
Okay.
So we immediately hired an engineer, an accident reconstructionist, to view the respective vehicles, the motorcycle and the other truck.
Okay.
And even though when things seemed clear-cut, there was an eyewitness, as he said, that was behind and saw the whole thing. But you can't ever be certain, particularly when there's a lot at stake for the insurance company. Mm-hmm. This was not going to be a $10,000 whiplash case that they would be able to settle.
Understood.
They knew that it was a significant claim, so I knew they would be out beating the bushes. In fact, they had hired an expert that kind of went with our expert to examine the vehicle.
Okay, I see.
Of course, they're looking at it to see if there's a way out of it or a way to diminish their responsibility. And but you don't know in the beginning what you're going to be up against.
I understand.
But you've got to treat it exactly like it's going to be. It's going to go all the way to a full-blown trial, and because you're not going to be able to get the evidence as well later as you can sooner.
Well, Eric, thankfully you're still with us, and I know you said you're in pain, but improving. We're going to take a short time out. Going to be back with more of Eric Neumann and his story. You're watching Attorneys on Call.